Policing, justice, law, this is an amazingly interesting part of this government's chart. Pluto connects with Mars, which in itself being the very masculine planets, uniforms, the MI5 to the police. There is a disassociate trine. A trine is good, but to mean, what I mean by disassociate means that the two planets aren't in compatible signs. Mars is in Taurus, phlegmatic, down to earth, whereas Pluto is in Sagittarius, which transforms the higher mind. So what we've got here is the mind, the vision, doesn't necessarily match the money or the practicality. And that's the biggest problem. Luckily enough, because the two energies work together, because Mars and Pluto actually do have an affinity, and because it's a trine, it's a good aspect, it does mean, rather oddly, that because we've seen the split up of the Home Office, and so we've got this Home Office, and now we've got a Homeland Security and Justice, it may well mean that that perhaps wasn't such a good move. And it could well mean that they either need to be cemented together, or there needs to be more communication between the two for it to work, because Pluto sits in the third house of communication, and Mars is in the seventh house of relationships, working on an equal house system. So having a relationship between those ministers are very, very important. And it goes without saying that the position of Home Office is terribly important, but it's a little bit of a poisoned chalice, because by taking away the law, the justice and all of that kind of things, you may have taken the meat off the bones, and so you're left with immigration and all of those other things which are important to people. And it is very important, because going back to all of this Cancerian energy at the top of the chart, the Cancerian energy can be very clannish. It can be very much one nation, as I've explored in the other segments. So it's going to be more and more likely that unless we get this sense of one nation and Britishness, you could have feelings of racism between English living in Scotland, Welsh living in England. I don't know. That's how bad it could be unless this is resolved. But it's more likely to be the whole immigration factor. People coming in from different countries, people staying here, committing crimes, committing murders like we've had. It's the whole terrorism factor, that we now have homegrown terrorists in our own country. Are they traitors? Of course they are, if they're doing things against their nation where they were born. So this whole area is very, very difficult and very hard. And therefore it needs to be very carefully thought out and considered, because these two areas and departments of state need to work together very closely. Pluto is secretive, and Mars is the big fist, something that Gordon has been called. So if you put these two things together, I think people need now to see not just action, Mars, but they need to see this big fist coming through Pluto, this concentrated energy, that something's being done. Otherwise, again, it could be like a fifth column, a quisling, a divisive energy which keeps the nation totally feeling insecure, feeling not safe, and not feeling very British. And that again could be one of the areas of fragmentation that needs to be solved, so that everybody feels the pride in where they come from. And that is why whoever takes over these ministers of state, whoever they are, have got to work very closely and very well together. And at times very secretly too, because that's a Pluto thing, but communication is what matters here.